Welcome to Jets Rewind. I'm Marty Schupak in Valley Cottage, New York. I'm joined by Ralph Schrager, who's in Boston, and Ray Clifford in Marysville, Ohio. Gentlemen, how you guys doing today as we're approaching the season? Ralph?
Very humid. I jogged today and I lost about 30 pounds in water weight. So
Okay. Ray, how you doing?
Oh, good. Just, you know, ready to get past all the hoopla of the Jets right now and get on with real football. I'm tired of hearing
oh
them
boy, you got a long way to go.
Yeah. Okay.
I know they haven't even started Hard Knocks yet, have they?
We'll get right into it. Just a couple of
No.
items I saw right before coming on the air. Um, Dalvin Cook, Rich Samini's reporting. He's stopping by ESPN at 11:30 this morning. We're recording this at 11 Saturday morning. So whatever happens, we'll see. He's going to the Jets camp tomorrow. And also, it came out about 30 minutes ago that Ezekiel Elliott is visiting the Pats today. So, that could be an indication. And I didn't even know he was a free agent. Did you, Ray?
Oh yeah, he was saying at one point he'd like to play for the Bengals or the Jets.
You know, we'll talk about this when we get into the Cook thing. But these running backs who were trying to get their second contract, and the same thing happened with Barkley, they got to learn that, they're not going to hit the jackpot anymore.
No,
The NFL teams just aren't going to pay these guys that.
it's not the position it was five,
No.
6 years
No,
ago.
no, it's tough. It's a tough thing. But anyway, we touched on Dalvin Cook. Let's get right into that. Ray, I'll start with you. I mean, do you think if it was up to you, would you sign him? And if you did, who do you think is out the door for the Jets? Because the running back room will be crowded, and they drafted a player, a running back, in I guess the fifth round. So, what's your opinion?
Like anything, like I was with Rodgers and like I am with all of them, it's just, yeah, I'd like him for the right price. I mean, we've got, thanks to Aaron, we've got a whole lot of extra, space to work with on signing guys, but I don't, I don't want to break the bank on a running back, and they're still wanting to try and get, top dollar. But if they can get them at the right price, yeah, I mean, we aren't sure how Brees will be, for a while. It could take a while for him to hopefully get back to where he was. As far as who goes, I think the first guy out the door would be Bam Knight.
Oh,
I'm not talking about, I don't know about I don't even think about the draft pick at this point. I'm just thinking about the guys who, were there last year and who were on the team. I mean, I don't, if it came down to the draft pick or Bam, then I guess it would depend on what kind of camp they both had and, what one guy went. I could be wrong. Maybe it's Carter, but I think it's Bam.
yeah, Ralph, I'll ask you, but I'm under the impression and that the thinking here is that if they do sign him, the motivation is that Brees Hall, whether it's physically or mentally, might not be 100%, and that you start the season where Cook would be the featured running back, and then somewhere seventh, eighth, or ninth game, it kind of transitions to Brees Hall. Ralph, I don't know if that makes sense to you, but let me have your 2 cents on this, Dalvin.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think another part of it Ray touched on is that Rodgers gave back so much money. I think Douglas is obligated now to make some signings.
Yeah.
For 20 years I live up here in New England, and that was a real cause of tension because Brady was always taking less than he was worth, and he was expecting them to sign players. And some years they didn't really kick in, and it was a problem. And I think at this point the Jets are going to do it. Unfortunately, there isn't really a lot of big talent out there. Marty, you sent us that list of all the free agents, and they're either old, injured, or not that good for the most part.
Yeah.
Cook is probably the best. I've really gotten tired over the years of the Jets getting older, big name running backs who are over the hill. I don't think Cook is over the hill, but with running backs, you never know when they're going to fall off the cliff. I just throw a few names at you: Matt Forte, LaDainian Tomlinson, Chris Johnson, Frank Gore, Le'Veon Bell, and none of them they were all a shell of what they used to be. So I'm a little skeptical about this, but like I said, I think he's a little younger than most of those guys, and he had a decent year last year. So yeah, there won't be the pressure to rush Breece Hall back. And that's as far as who they're going to get rid of. I think it's either Bam or Michael Carter, and I think what it'll come down to is who we can get more for, because I think he can get something, certainly for Carter.
Yeah.
And I think he'll go shopping them. I think teams will call. Teams will definitely call. Now, one other thing, Nick Bawden, is that guy going to make the team? And if he does that, is he going to bump someone out of the running back room too?
Well, that's a good question. He's for the fans, he's listed as the fullback. And from what I understand, there's been a lot of fullback plays so far in practice. So he might end up, making the team. And I don't know if he's going to knock out another running back or they'll just list him, I don't know, fullback / tight end. I'm not sure. But I think the chances are a little better than 50-50 that he makes the team. Now, as far as that list goes, Ralph, one name on the list, I know Ray's in love with. He wants to go out and sign Anthony Barr for a 5-year guaranteed contract. That's one of his favorite all-time free agent. Is that right, Ray?
Second only to Antonio Winfield.
Right.
Well, DeAndre Hopkins, he was another one who trashed the Jets.
Yeah, but he never signed with us.
Right.
He probably would have if he had the chance, but we never got that far with him.
Yeah, and talking about trashing the Jets, came out about Sean Payton made some comments, and which I don't quite understand. Usually in the coaching fraternity, there's a lot of they're very opinionated, but a lot of times it's like what Ronald Reagan said about the 11th commandment. Never say anything negative about a fellow Republican. And he comes out and he's bashing a combination of Nathaniel Hackett and the Jets, the way they approach the offseason. So I just want your opinion. Then I'm going to say something controversial after both you guys. So go ahead, Ray. What was your opinion on this?
Well, first I was pissed. Mainly because, I don't blame him for the Hackett thing. That one kind of shocked me because I think everybody saw what a disaster that was last year, and you got to point a lot of that towards the coaching. But it's just odd to hear another coach come out and say it that directly. I think I was more pissed about how he went at the Jets and how I didn't understand it. It sounded to me like he's a great coach and he's a smart football guy, but even the smartest guys around can make stupid ass comments. And saying the Jets were trying to win the preseason was probably one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Because what team goes into any season let's win this preseason and really show everybody how great we're going to be. I don't think anybody. Of course, we're trying to win the preseason. We're trying to win the whole season. We didn't even. And he brings up Hard Knocks. The Jets didn't want to be on Hard Knocks. They didn't have a say in that. The league kind of forced that issue. So it wasn't. It was kind of surprising and irritating to hear. And then he backtracked a little bit yesterday and said, "Oops, I really probably shouldn't have said that stuff." Well, okay, So I was irritated at first, but
it's a little too
barn
door and the horse
wide open. So he said he was going to reach out to Saleh and Nathaniel and kind of try and smooth it over a little bit. But I'd be interested to hear if they answer the phone when he calls, but we'll see.
Ralph, what's your feeling about
I got a lot of thoughts on this. And one that's really funny is that if you look at the Jets schedule, like the first 7 or 8 games, the least interesting game was the Denver game. And now that's suddenly about the most interesting one.
Right.
But everyone was saying the reason he did it is to boost Russell Wilson, who was horrible last year. And I agree with Ray that Hackett has to take a lot of the blame. To say that it's the worst coaching job ever is ridiculous. They can just throw out Hugh Jackson and Rich Kotite and Marty Morningwig 0-16. So, I mean, that's ridiculous. But the thing about Russell Wilson that fascinates me is this guy leads a charmed life. I mean, here's a guy who was the author of the biggest blunder in the history of the NFL, and it was all Pete Carroll and Darrell Bevel's fault. Nobody ever really got on Russell Wilson. And here he is having a crappy year last year, and it's all on Hackett, too. Fascinating. I always thought Russell Wilson was a game manager. I think it was proven last year when Seattle got rid of him. They just plugged in Geno Smith, and he did just as good a job. And good luck with Russell Wilson. Yeah, he is a good coach, Peyton. We'll see what he can do. But boy, I want to kick that team's ass now, don't we?
Ralph, over the course of his career, did you think Russell Wilson was an overrated quarterback?
Yeah, I do. I think he was the product of a really good system. I think he was solid, but I don't think he was a franchise quarterback. I don't think he was worth anywhere near what they gave up for him. Whoa. And I hear these Jet fans still bitching about Aaron Rodgers. We gave up too much for him. Well, we weren't even close to giving up what they gave up for Russell Wilson. I'd take Rodgers now over Wilson, wouldn't you?
Yeah, Ray, I'm just curious, what do you think about Russell Wilson? You think over the course of a career he was overrated?
I don't know about overrated, but I think the main thing I agree with Ralph on is that I think it has to be the right system for him. I don't think he's a quarterback who can play in any kind of system. He's limited in his skills, and I think that's where him and Hackett kind of, went the wrong way. Is that he tried to make the player fit his system as opposed to, fit the system to his player, which I think Peyton will do, and I think he's a lot of the reason Breeze turned into the quarterback he was. So I think and you got similarities, size and everything, and
right.
He's more mobile than
Breeze had a better arm though.
Yes, Breeze had a better arm, but he's more mobile, and that's where Wilson his best, did his best work was on the move.
Let me give you my 2 cents on this Sean Payton, who everyone rates so high as a coach. This guy is such a hypocrite in more ways than one. He was involved in this Bounty Gate scandal. And by the way, the conspiracy theory inside of me says, I wonder if he had a talk with Bill Belichick before he came out with this. That's because they're buddies. But anyway, the Bounty Gate thing, people forget he was suspended for 1 year, too. It all falls on his lap, that whole thing. And this thing, and again, I hate to bring it up, and I think it's what's wrong with a lot of what's going on in this country. I'm telling you, if Hackett was, I'll just say this, if he wasn't a white coach, nothing would have been said. And I stand by that. I think it's a problem in this country, and he should have just shut his mouth. And, he should have just kept it to himself. So I'm sorry if I threw that out there to you guys, but I did. I don't know if you have any reaction, Ralph.
I'm confused by the point, but I don't
know.
Okay.
That's okay. Right. Anyway, question, we're all concerned. Probably our biggest concern is the offensive line. So, Ralph, who do you think starts or who plays more this year, Dwayne Brown or Mekhi Becton?
Really tough question. You want to think that the 25-year-old is going to play more than the 38-year-old, but I think it's going to be Dwayne Brown. I think he played the whole year last year with a bad shoulder. I think the guy, he's tough. I don't think Becton is tough mentally. He's just so I'm going to go with Brown.
Ray, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, how can you choose Becton? I mean, with what you have to go on, one game, one start in 34 games that he's had over the past 2 years, and I mean, I don't know how much time Dwayne Brown will be on the field, but at least I know he'll play through it, and not only that, so far in camp, just on what Becton has shown, I don't think I'd trust him to be out there. He's getting worked, it sounds like, by just about everybody. So, which was how it was the other year when Lawson was going by him.
Yeah, before he blew his Achilles. Yeah,
the first time. Yeah. first injury. So
yeah.
I think Dwayne Brown.
I think Dwayne Brown too, and it's funny. Rich Cimini in his podcast, he had said a possible surprise. He says, "Don't be shocked if Mekhi Becton is traded before the season starts," which I would be surprised too, because I think he's looked upon now from the rest of the league as like damaged goods, unless you could prove otherwise.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, though, everyone's always looking for a tackle, and someone might take a shot at him. I don't know what Douglas would accept for him. If they offered like a fourth, would you think he'd do the trade? I'd be happy getting rid of him.
I would love to get a fourth. They're not going to sign up to the 50-year option.
No, of course not.
I already know that.
Yeah.
I just think he's such a question mark that it just I'd rather him not be on the team, frankly.
Me too.
What I fear a little bit is he'll have a decent year and he'll sign some monster contract and then, back to what he was, or just quit having the effort like Muhammad Wilkerson. And then, we'll have wasted a lot of that $35 million we saved from Rodgers.
I don't think there's a chance in heck they give him a long-term contract, no matter what he does this year.
No, Ray,
I agree.
Trust me, I've been following the NFL as long as Ralph. This guy isn't going to amount to anything more than 1 year, or he'll never have 2 years in a row. Trust me. He'll go up
this
and down.
If this is that 1 year, though,
that would be nice.
Yeah, which is good. Which is good.
What do they do?
And not on the agenda, but Ray, what were your thoughts? Do you think they gave him up too cheap, too early, Denzel Mims, for what they got? Should they have waited to the end of training camp?
I don't think they were going to get any more. And I mean, I don't, that wide receiver room is so full. I don't think they had time to try and make him look like, he'd made some big strides to add value. I think, I think they got what they could get for him. I'm not surprised that he just didn't show enough to get much.
Right. Ralph, what are your thoughts on the
I think if they had waited and some injuries popped up, maybe they could have squeezed a little earlier pick. I think they did that part, partially for him. I got to tell you, the thing about it with Mims is, which is one of his big problems, is learning the playbook.
Correct.
So, he's got to start all new again. Good luck to Detroit. They have a great offensive coordinator. I love that guy. Maybe he can make something out of him. I'd be happy for him because I kind of like Mims, but the same thing with Elijah Moore. You start hearing reports out of Cleveland that he's doing well, and maybe he is. Maybe it's just hype, but sometimes you just got to move on from a player, and a change of scenery is what is needed. It's Aaron Rodgers to a degree is in that situation. I think he got stale with Green Bay, and I think he's renewed here. It happens both ways, and I think these GMs realize that at a certain point. And I think Becton is another one that's going to happen with too.
Yeah, I think you're right. And Ralph, I was out visiting Ray last week. We had a great time. We ate at my favorite restaurant in Ohio. What was it? Texas
Roadhouse.
Texas Roadhouse in Marysville. It was excellent. And it's funny, Ralph, because we're both wearing jet hats. We had a few waiters come over to us, talk to us about.
Was Patrick Swayze the bouncer there?
Yeah, that's.
He was serving drinks.
yeah, but I ended up going up to the Football Hall of Fame, and it's starting to look green even 2 weeks before.
Yeah, that's nice.
The preseason game is like in a few days, Thursday, and as far it's good just because we get to start like a week early ahead of time. Though there is some interest there just because of all the players that they have. And I just want to ask you guys, if you would have named 3 players that you would be interested in seeing in the Hall of Fame game, what 3 players would you pick? I'm actually going to start this, okay?
Oh. Can I just ask you a question? You know what channel that game is on?
I'm guessing it's on the NFL Network.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I don't know. Ray, do you have any thoughts about that?
No, I don't know. I would say regardless. I think it'll be on the NFL Network because this is their show, the whole Hall of Fame thing and everything. So
Yeah.
I'm sure if nothing else, the replay would be on there. But I would guess the live game will be on there. I think they do every year, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, right. All right, my three players, and he's been in the news and Twitter and all that every day. This wide receiver, Jason Brownlee, just watching some of his highlights, his catch radius looks tremendous, and I'm looking forward to seeing this guy. The other one, hopefully he'll see a few snaps. Will McDonald, the number one draft pick, who, some of the tape I've seen on him, this guy has such a bend. He's able to like get so low and get around. It's really incredible. And the third one, and I'm gonna watch my friend Ray Clifford shake his head, is I want to see Chris Strevler. I want to see what he could do. I have a feeling I've heard that Zach Wilson might not even play. So it
Oh,
could,
really?
yeah.
Oh, that's too bad.
But that was on Twitter. You don't know whether to believe it. So it could be the Chris Strevler, Tim Boyle show. And by the way, from what Rich Samini said, Strevler has looked better than Tim Boyle.
That's really sad because Trevor's got a high school arm.
That good?
But those are my three. So let's start with Ray. What three players are you interested in seeing this Thursday?
Well, and I told you guys before, I don't even know all the guys as far as the undrafted guys we picked up. It was the receiver Brownlee, which I know we don't want to do duplicates, but I don't know who else to talk about because I'm not sure who's playing. I do want to see if the running back that we drafted, I don't even know how to pronounce
Abanikanda.
it.
Thank you. Just call him Izzy. That's what everyone calls him.
I want to see if he's got any, kind of, little different moves than we see out of the guys we got that he might hang around.
Ray, you're going to see a Buckeye, Jeremy Ruckert, don't you?
I would love to see Ruckert have a bigger on the team in general this year. And I hear, at least so far, I mean, it's still early, but he's had so far a pretty decent camp. But, I think McDonald, but I don't want to see McDonald in too much out there. I don't want this, I don't want them using him.
I only expect him for one or two sets of down. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they got to give him some,
maybe see if Jermaine Johnson is showing a little more, guys.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I don't know if he'll even play or.
I don't want him to play, to be honest with you. It sounds like he's having an incredible camp. So I'd rather him not play. Ralph, what three players are you interested in seeing this Thursday in the whole?
Guy I want to see is, first of all, is Zaire Barnes, who I have really liked watching him on film, the film that I saw.
Ralph, for the fans, just refresh Zaire Barnes. Who is he? Where's he from? What draft pick?
Well, he's either from Eastern, Northern, or Western Michigan. I always get them mixed up because they have other guys from them. And he's like a 5th or a 6th round pick. Very athletic and a tackling machine. But the thing you'll like about him, Marty, is watching. I saw him. He had 2 pick sixes in college, one in an all-star game. He seems to have a good feel for jumping routes. So he just had a pick the other day in practice. So I think by next year, he'll be starting. He'll be one of their starters. Tony Adams, really, he might be a starter, but I don't know if he's going to play in this game. Like, same thing with him and Jamie and Sherwood. I don't know if they're considered starters and they're going to play or not. Frankly, I think they both need the time if they're going to start to get some experience. You said Brownlee. Another guy that you like, Marty, Trey Dean from Florida.
Yes.
I think he's going to make the team. He might bump Ashton Davis. I hope he does because that's an upgrade.
I just want your opinion, Ralph, because I don't think they would keep Ashton Davis just because of his special team prowess at this point, because he's been pretty good in special teams last year. What's your opinion?
Well, I think if they think that Dean is a better football player, I'm sure Dean can play special teams too. I mean, he's been hanging on for a long time by a thread. I think this might be his year where he's going.
Where does that put a guy on the pup list who I really liked? they're talking about. He's like a hybrid cornerback safety. Jarek Bernard Converse. I think he was from LSU.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously they're going to keep him. They drafted him, and he's been hurt, so I don't think we really know anything about him yet.
Okay.
I don't. I think they're probably going to try more at safety, although I'm kind of uncomfortable about our depth at the outside cornerback position. I guess Brandon Eccles would be our first guy up. Or
Brandon Eccles is good.
He's sometimes sometimes I wonder. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about him. But I guess as a sub, you're not going to get that much better in the NFL. I don't know what the story is with Bryce Hall. Do you guys know what's going on with him?
My opinion, and Ray, I'll ask you. I can't see how he's going to make the team. I think the only pipeline to making this team, and he has the size, if somehow they could switch him to safety, but even the safety room is getting pretty crowded right now. So, Ray, what's your opinion on Hall?
I mean, I like him, but he hasn't shown enough, I think, to make him not a bubble guy. I think he'll, I think this is a big camp, just like with Sherwood and a couple others that they've got to, Ashton Davis too. They got to really show that they can step up and
right,
do a little more, to make them worthwhile. Otherwise, I think they'll go young and try and develop somebody else.
Yeah, Nazir Deem is another one, I guess, who's he's better show something this year.
Yeah, I think it's questionable if he makes the team.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I always bring up the Bryce Hall, the year, I guess 2 years ago, they beat Cincinnati. He shut down Jamar Chase. I think he had 2 catches, 13 yards. He was terrific. I said, well, this guy's good. But then he could put together like 2 good games in a row. Buffalo, they were just eating him up. It was just unbelievable. Ray,
I think Sherwood's going to make the team. They like he's a pet. Some of these coaches, they hate some players always, and they like some players. And Sherwood's one of those guys that they've always liked. They think he's got a high IQ for football, but he hasn't really shown it on the field that much. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's why I think it's questionable. Is what's he doing on the field? I mean, he must practice well. He must have things. And I liked him at times in the preseason last year. I thought he showed signs that he was taking a step where if Mosley went down, he could step in and control things. But in the games, it didn't show up as much.
Ralph, if you had to pick one or the other, who would you pick to make the team? Let's say you had to cut one. Solomon Thomas or Tanzel Smart?
Personally, I would cut Solomon Thomas, but they're not, because he's a favorite of Salah's. Because I think Tanzel Smart, if he got consistent playing time, I think he'd produce more than Solomon Thomas. But that wouldn't happen.
Ray, what's your thoughts? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I'm the same. I liked the flashes we saw from Smart. I think what you've got in Thomas, but you're always going to have some guys that the coach just likes to have on the team, whether it's a veteran presence or what, or he knows the system, or he worked with them for years. And I do think that's why Thomas is here at all, is because of Salah. And I would stick with Smart. I just like the younger guy who's has a little bit more upside. I think you've seen all you're going to get out of Thomas, and it's not what it was, but it's still okay. I mean, it's not bad, but I think Smart offers a different dimension right now.
I agree. And Ralph, Solomon Thomas, what pick was he in the draft?
He was like the 3rd pick in the draft.
Unbelievable. He's really been a bust. When you look at it,
it happens. It just happens.
I know it happens. All right, Ray.
The Jets would never pick a guy like that.
Yeah, sure.
We'd wait till 6 to pick him. And
Dwayne Robertson was a 4. And I think they gave up 2 first-rounders.
He did.
All right, I'm going to go through this quickly. I'm going to start with Ray. I'm looking at a depth chart. It's unofficial. Just in no particular order. The receivers. You ready? Here we go. Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, McCole Hardman, Corey Davis, Irvin Charles, Randall Cobb, Jason Brownlee, Malik Taylor, Alex Erickson, Jerome Kapp, TJ Luther, Xavier Gibson. That's 3, 6, 9, 12. Ray, Tell me how many wide receivers, and probably the choice would be 5 or 6, do the Jets keep, and who do you think right now they're going to keep before they even took the field for an exhibition game?
Did you mention Cobb in that?
I did.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I thought it'd be 5, but I don't think. Kind of like with Solomon Thomas for Rodgers, I don't think they're going to get rid of Cobb because I think he would be a guy I'd question whether or not they kept. But I think it will be. And I think so far Brownlee's looking good. If he continues to look good, they aren't going to try to sneak him on any practice squad. They're going to have to keep him. I think it'll be
Right.
6.
I let me just throw one thing in because Ralph brought up a good point, which it might affect it. This fullback Nick Borden, that might have might determine how many wide receivers they're going to pick up. But Ralph, do you know what the injury is with Randall Cobb? Because they could put him on the short-term injured reserve. Do you have any idea what it is?
No, I don't. But with some of these veterans, I almost feel like just sit them for a while. They don't need all this practice and shit like that. It's
more than happy to get out of training camp.
Yeah. I feel like Dwayne Brown, to a degree, is probably in that same position. It's like, well, you know what? Just we'll take total precautions because you know how to play the game.
So how many receivers, Ralph, do you think?
I agree 6, and I think Brownlee is probably the way he was looking was probably part of the reason that they felt they could get rid of Mims because he's a big physical receiver. And I agree with Ray; they're not going to hide him. Whereas the 2 little guys, T.J. Luther and Xavier Gibson, they probably could hide them. They're gonna if they don't keep either of those guys, they're gonna have to find someone to return punts. I don't know who that's gonna be. I don't know if Hardman can do it. But
yeah.
I think I remember Salah had a comment recently where he said when Corey Davis got injured last year, our wide receiver room got really small, and I think that's another reason Brownlee's going to stick because they want more size too in depth as far as that.
Right. It should be interesting. It's pretty strange having a deep wide receiver room. If you look back in the Jets' history, Ralph, we're going to start winding this down, but I want to cut 2 more questions. Is there a possibility Bryce Huff gets traded in the preseason before the season starts? And one of the reasons is because I've heard that they don't think they're going to re-sign him after this year because of how crowded the defensive end room is.
I think that a possibility, of course, is a possibility. I feel like this team feels like this is a year that they have to win. And if it means losing him in free agency next year, if they can get, good production out of him. I watched the little practice. That guy's flying around. He, him on one end and McDonald on the other on 3rd and longs. Boy, that really makes my mouth water. Those 2 guys are fast. And I hope they don't trade him. What could they get for him? I mean, if someone offered a 2nd, maybe Douglas would sit and think about it. But other than that, I think he's going to stay. I think they love rotating, and they just love the depth.
Do you talking about rotating? I thought I saw a stat where Quentin Williams played like 61% of the snaps. And Ray, I'm going to get your thoughts on Bryce Huff. Ralph, do you think he should be playing more or less? Because I remember it seemed like he was in a rhythm, and a few times they took him out.
Yeah. I mean, if it would be more, not much more, because you get less return, and the more you play a guy, suddenly he gets tired later in the game. So I think 61, that's pretty high for Salah's system. I don't think you're going to see him do much more. I think Quentin Jefferson actually is a little better pass rusher than what's his name was, Rankins. I think that's more of his game.
Right.
So we'll see. I love Al Woods.
Woods is better on the run. I know that.
Yeah, Woods is great. I like Al Woods. I think he's a young 36. The guy still has a lot left in him, and Reminded me a little on some when I watched him play at times with Chris Jenkins, big guy with just ragdoll people. So he might be fun. They needed someone like him.
Ray, what's your thoughts on Bryce Huff? Could you see the Jets trading him? And I know for a fact, Ralph, I know Ray Clifford. He doesn't want to trade Bryce Huff. So give me your opinion on Ray.
No, he doesn't. Any guys who are productive, in the way he is, in the little limited amount he plays, I like having him around. And could he be traded? Sure. If I think Joe is pretty good at saying I'm not taking any less than whatever, and not just dumping guys unless he absolutely has to. And I don't think he has to on him. And with his system of rotation, he'll get him in there. Now if somebody, if McDonald turns out to be this stud that's unbelievable that you can't keep off the field much, at some point he might become expendable. But I don't think at this point there's much of a chance of him getting rid of him unless somebody made an offer that Joe really couldn't refuse.
Yeah, and talking about percentages, I think he played like somewhere in the 20s, 21, 24, 26% of the snaps, which is unbelievable. I think they came out and like his efficiency rating is off the charts.
Yeah.
Which is really incredible. And Ralph, I think we spoke about this too. I wouldn't even put him on the inside. Remember they were playing with that? Just leave him on the outside.
Yeah. That's where he does his damage.
Oh my God. Yeah. All right. We're going to close it out. Last question. If the Jets don't make the playoffs, I'll start with Ray. Who is more likely to be fired, Joe Douglas or Robert Saleh?
I think it's Saleh, but if it's really bad, it could be both. But I think part of this, Woody has to be careful because Rodgers I think he likes the guys in place. And I don't think he'd get rid of anybody without going through Aaron Rodgers first, because if he makes the wrong move and fires him, Rodgers could say, well, I'm, one and done. I think it will be much better than last year, just simply because of the quarterback play, but we've added some good talent too. And, I know the expectations are high, but I think we just got to show that we're very competitive and they'll both be back. But if one were to go, I think it would be Saleh.
Okay, Ralph, your thoughts, and then I'll put in my 2 cents.
I want these two guys to succeed really badly. I'm more comfortable with both of those guys than I have been with a coach and GM in a long time with the Jets. But, if they bomb out this year, I agree. It would have to be Saleh. All the people who are experts think the Jets have a good roster. So it would really be on the coach at this point. But boy, I really want them to do well because that's one of the main reasons. Because I think Saleh is a draw. Players, he's got a reputation. Players like to play for him, and but I agree with Ray.
I would say it would be Sal if it was anyone. I just want to mention too, my 2 good friends on WFAN. They were talking about this, and just for a fact, I didn't want to call in, but they said they couldn't see Joe Douglas being available to hire a third head coach. Joe Douglas did not hire Adam Gase.
That's right.
And I wish somebody pointed that out. In fact, it was the other way around.
Yeah.
Adam Gase kind of hired Joe Douglas.
Yeah.
So put that in perspective. And also, I've said this over and over again. I really believe the 2020 draft, which has been awful, Adam Gase had a say in it. You'll never hear it out of Joe Douglas's mouth. I have no proof in it, but I know this. If I was a head coach and I had an influence in hiring a general manager, I would say, look, I'm going to help get you the job, but I want to say in the players that are drafted. So that's my feeling, and I could be wrong. So with that, we're going to close it out. Anything else, Ralph or Ray?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ray. Here we go.
One more week. Okay. And the man gets his due.
Oh, Joe Klecko.
Joe Klecko, baby. By the way, what do you think about him saying we're going to wear basically this kind of uniform a few times?
I'm not into the uniforms. I don't know what it is. It doesn't.
I think it's a nice change. I was surprised they haven't done it sooner, honestly. But
just win some games, okay?
No,
So,
obviously.
No, I'm more about the uniform. Forget about winning.
Yeah, forget about it.
yeah.
We're going to win
No.
the uniform
Eh, eh,
game too, not just the preseason.
Well, what do you think of the controversy with what is it, Asante Samuel trashing Revis, saying he had all these better stats than him and he doesn't belong?
I think it's just garbage.
Yeah. I watched Revis with my own eyes for about 5 years of unbelievable defensive play. He was he belongs.
He was great. I thought he had like 2 or 3 years, which I never saw, like incredible too.
Yeah.
And by the way, we should point out, I don't know if we're going to be on before they're inducted. Congratulations to Darrell Revis and also to Joe Klecko for finally making the Hall of Fame. Joe Klecko, who shares a November birthday with me. We were born like about 3 or 4 days apart.
No kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
So a lot to do with it.
And actually, the three people that you Jet fans are listening to, you won't find bigger Joe Klecko fans than us three. And we spent some time talking about him before he was accepted, about how good he really was, he was relentless.
Yeah.
3 different positions. And of course, he got hurt, which was too bad. But when they redid the stats for the sacks, I mean, I'm just thinking top of my head. I think he had like 120. I could be wrong, but it was just amazing. He was just an amazing player. He really was. So I want to wish him congratulations. Went to Temple University. He had a son that played. He actually got a Super Bowl ring up in New England. I'm just surprised. Have you guys heard? Is it Marty Lyons that's going to introduce?
Yeah, Marty Lyons. I think Revis's mother's going to be doing his. If I heard correctly.
Okay, which is it.
Him and Marty were really good, tight buddies when they were together. And
Marty was a first-round pick, and Clicker was what, a 6th or a 7th.
Yeah.
I think 5th, but you could be right.
Yeah, either way, it's just
we're gonna know, Ralph, because Ray Clifford is working on the Jets Rewind website, and the draft page is actually back, which is good. The only problem was the one glitch that hasn't been fixed was my fault, that I have Vernon Golston down as a quarterback. So that it's just still up there.
That's the problem. We're playing him out of position.
Maybe he would have worked out there.
That's it. We had him in the wrong position. So with that, we're going to close it out for Ralph Sharega, Ray Clifford, and Marty Schupak. And we're going to start the season. Until next time, for Jets Rewind.